everyone. I hope you had a good lunch. Try to keep you awake. That's my job for the next 15 minutes. Let's kick it off. What I want to speak about today is the segmentation of one. I know that it sounds like a big topic, but we'll try to break it down into the smaller pieces. We only have 15 minutes for it. A little bit about who we are. This is our mission statement. We partner with financial services. We help them break the legacy constraints, I would say, modernizing banking technology from core to customer. Now, a little bit about who we are when it comes to the market itself. We've been in business for 42 years, out of which the last 20 years in financial services. We have 96% of our projects go live, 1.7 billion daily digital journeys in telecoms and banking that we support. Can actually say that majority of you guys are using our services on a day-to-day basis without even knowing that we are behind the scenes. We are fortunate enough to work with what we call traditional banks, the likes of HSBC, BNP Paribas, but we also work with fintechs, which makes us very unique because it's not just about understanding how banks operate, it's also about understanding how the next generation of competitors of banks will work. What kind of services do they offer to the market, and how do they prepare themselves while offering services and competing with banks? Now, what we've seen in 20 years of experience working in financial services is that the evolution itself started from what we call personalization 1.0. The focus was, how do I get better? It means, how do I improve my channels? How do I sell mortgages better? How do I sell deposits better, loans, and so forth? What we've seen as an evolution of that is what we call personalization 2.0, is the understanding that customer data plus digital channels plus product offering makes it personalized. So it's no longer about how do I sell a mortgage better, it's how do I take the information I have about my customer and how do I combine that information and actually create tailor-made offers. This is what we call personalization 2.0. It's the notion of breaking down the organizational silos. So it's moving from a product-centric approach, which means what I sell, how do I sell a mortgage better, how do I sell a deposit better, to understanding the customer expectations, taking it into the level of overall relationships and personalization, what we refer to as segmentation of one. The challenge is the fact that while you do that, you also need to deal with the reality of multiplied distribution channels, including embedded financing, of course, if you offer your services through your partners. And when you take that and you break it into the elements that you use to do the segmentation, to do the personalization, you end up with lots of pieces of information about the customer that are stored in different systems, right? Some of them would be in your core banking system, some of them would be inside your channels, some of them would be in your CRM solutions, in the middleware, and anything in between. So trying to make sense out of all these pieces of information and creating this personalization, it's a challenge. It's not something that I would say easygoing or walk in the park type of an approach. It requires an understanding of the information. But more importantly, it also requires the understanding that the information would most likely stay where it is. Because replacing a core banking system, or replacing a CRM system, or replacing a middleware is not something that takes months. It's something that can take years. And most customers will try, most partners that we work with will try to modernize on the run. And therefore, the reality of having the information stored in different areas will stay with us for years. So how do you translate that into personalizing the experience? What we have done, and again, it's not about replacing a core banking system, it's not about replacing a CRM system. It's about how do you collect the pieces of information about an individual in a way that helps you understand their reality. So it's not about how do I sell a mortgage better to the individual. It's understanding that this specific individual has been with the bank for 10 years. They have top-level, they are recognized as top-level revenue generators, 80% product match in the sense of what kind of solutions they use from the bank and so forth. And how to use that information, that's what we've done successfully in the recent years, what we call CES, this is the portfolio capabilities that we have, to create what we call tailor-made offering. So it's no longer the notion, the offer itself is how do I collect the pieces of information, again, emphasizing the fact that this information stays in the core banking systems. It stays in the CRM systems, it stays in the middleware, and it's perfectly fine. But how do you use that information to generate what we call tailor-made offer? Understanding what the customer is looking for. So while they look for a car loan, it might be the right time to offer a discount on insurance, and it might be the time to discuss a discount on home insurance and so forth. So it's the understanding of the expectation of the customer and understanding that eventually working with them rather than just being being proactive rather than responsive would change the nature of the relationship with the customer. That's what we are here to speak about. Now, when we've done this successfully, and eventually, and the reality is such that majority of personalization experiences are built based on rule-based mechanisms, right? It can be rules that are hard-coded into the core banking system to kind of try to create this experience. It can also be capabilities that are advanced, Java-based, cloud-native type of architecture that allows you to take it to the next level. But eventually, the reality is, even if the technology is, I would say, advanced, it's still rule-based. So you have rules that identify the customer. You have rules predicting if the customer is 18-year-old, you can offer them a credit card, and if not, you cannot. But it's all rule-based. So GenAI and machine learning was the first time that we actually could take this information to the next level. So it's not just about the rules. It's not just a definition of a rule. It's how do I take the information I have and I create predictive capabilities to personalize the experience even beyond what I'm used to do. And what we've seen is that with the introduction of LLMs, you can start doing that, right? You can start looking at the different deposit offerings that you have. You can start analyzing the type of deposits that you have. But the context is such that when you use LLMs models, I'm sure that many of you experience with it already, it's about the quality of the data, but it's also about the context. And only when you start adding the context, like the user 360 profile, the knowledge database that you store, the plans descriptions, agent methods and procedures, and product and procedures, and bank LLMs, you can actually start making sense out of this data. So it's no longer just the expectation of what to do. It's how do I take the information I have and I start addressing it in the different channels I'm reaching out to my customers through. So we speak about self-service, of course. We speak about agent assist, and we speak about B2B assistance. So the reality is such that we move away from rule-based type of engagement models in which everything is predefined. So while the system reacts dynamically, the reality is such that everything is rule-based. As I said, it can be hard-coded, it can also be configurable. We move away from understanding that LLMs and generative AI and machine learning can be used to analyze the data in a way that helps us be proactive about the way that we interact with our customers. So we speak about self-service assistance. In this case, in this specific example related to deposits, is how do I add information to the plan? How do I make it more reasonable or more understandable by my customers, by my end customers? Agent assist, and of course, B2B, and anything in between. Now, the reality is such, and we've embedded this into our portfolio of capabilities, and I'll show you that in a demo in a few minutes, is that we will use both. It's not one or the other. We will end up using generative AI to create context, especially internally, less to the customer, especially internally. And we'll use traditional machine learning for decision-making because we want to make everything smarter. So it's not about this or that. It's actually the combination of the two. It's the understanding that you need to use generative AI and you need to use machine learning for decision-making. And that's the way we see it, and that's the way we reflect that into the portfolio of capabilities that we have as an organization. Now, what we've done, and again, we've been in business for many, many years. We have a wide portfolio of capabilities. You see it on the right-hand side over there. So we have our custom management platform. We have the Amdocs catalog. Of course, everything is microservices, cloud-native by definition. What we've done, we've created the Amdocs Amaze, which is the capability to inject smartness into the different portfolio of capabilities. So it's a standalone intentionally. So it's not built inside the architecture of the portfolio of capabilities that we have. It's actually components and capabilities that are loosely coupled, can be deployed individually, but can actually be engaged or be integrated into the different portfolio of capabilities that will be used eventually by the partners that we work with. And I'll show you that in a demo in a second. But just to emphasize that what you see on the right-hand side, these are the capabilities that Amdocs has, of course. But our customers, our partners have different capabilities. They might be using a different CRM system. They might be using a different core system. They might be using different middleware. It's perfectly fine. What we've done in the last few years, we injected smartness into the capabilities that either the customer chose from our own portfolio or the capabilities that they decided to deploy as part of their architecture. So if I may, just to show you the demo. For the purpose of the demo, what I've done, I took the Amdocs catalog. I said it's a piece of the portfolio of capabilities that you've seen before. Okay, just to emphasize that in this specific case, we have the GenAI engine. So I'm going to show you how it looks like on the catalog side. But as I said, the implementation itself is built to support different type of systems, being core banking systems, being middleware, being also different channels. So the first thing that you see, it's actually the canvas. This is the user interface for business managers. It's not built for IT. It's actually built for business managers. And you can see that they have different capabilities that they can choose to activate. So they can create an offer, they can create a bundle, they can create a commercial relationship, they can create offer group. There are all sorts of different capabilities. This is a codeless, completely codeless environment, wizard-based. So the business managers can actually use any component here and initiate the process, create a bundle, create a product, create a promotion, whatever fits their needs at that point in time. But we have done something, sorry, it starts again. Okay. What you see on the right-hand side, in the corner there, is the assistance. It's a co-piloting type of an approach, which means that the user can choose either to create the bundle or create the product themselves, or to actually use the assistant, the GenAI assistants here. So I'll go ahead and I'll activate that. And you can see that, of course, there are predefined questions, but it's based on LLM. It's natural language based, so the customer, the individual, the business manager can just write down what they would like to do. So in this specific case, the individual chooses to suggest, to create actually, to ask the machine to suggest what kind of bundles would be relevant to the market. Now, why is it so important? Because it's not just about what the individual knows. You have business managers, product owners, they know a lot about the products that they maintain, but the market knows better. So it's, when we speak about creating or suggesting bundles, the system would react by checking all sorts of different sources of information, including potentially successes, failures, your competition. So when we speak about bundle creation, it's no longer what the person remembers that works best. It's much beyond that. The system would actually use LLM modules to figure out what kind of capabilities, what kind of bundles, what kind of products would make more sense, more successful in the market. So I'm interacting with, okay? The system would continue asking me leading questions, like what kind of customer, in this specific case, do you have any product, any specific products that you would like to promote? Okay. And then again, about the segment, what kind of customers are you addressing? What kind of customers you would like to address with the new bundles? Okay. So the system gave me a draft. Of course, nothing was created yet. The system makes suggestions in a sense of there can be 3 packages. There's a standard package, there's a gold package, there's a platinum package. These are the suggestions made by the system after analyzing all the available data. And it will make suggestions in regards to the products that can be part of the bundle, okay? That might be more successful. Now, nothing was created. This is still a draft discussion. Okay? I can still ask, again, to make adjustments. In this specific case, I want to add word payment to the platinum package. I think it's relevant. Okay? Now, once I see that it fits my expectations, now, of course, I'm not doing anything in production. This is a design time. This is just a draft version of what I can do. So the system is now ready to generate this, which is the most powerful aspect of it, if I may say so. So I asked the system to create the bundles on my behalf, of course. The system would use my credentials to create the bundles. So the bundles were created. Okay, they include everything that was said. The pricing can also be based on simulations of pricing. If you have a simulation engine for risk assessments and so forth, that can be used also as part of the generating activities. So the system will actually create the 3 bundles. It will say, these are the packages that are included in the bundles. These are the suggested prices. And again, this is a design time environment, not a runtime environment. And then the user can choose. Okay, I'm happy with what I see. Just to emphasize that if I drill down into one of them, just to show you that actual content was generated behind it, The system generated the product, so every product has an attribute set of attributes. It has its own pricing, it has its own commercial naming, it has its own attachments. Everything that is associated to this specific product is of course, being linked to it. And you can see on the right-hand side that there are many different attributes that can be changed. So the user can choose either to accept it as is. Again, it's a co-piloting type of an approach. So the user can choose to accept it or modify it. Every element here can be modified by the business manager. So let me end with this, because I just ran out of time. You're welcome to reach out. I hope you enjoyed the session. Wish you all the best and have a successful next session. Thank you.